Hey guys, you've reached the Only Mamas podcast, and we're so excited because this is where you get to meet the real people behind the online model, and particularly moms, because we're focusing on moms who also do online modeling. And I'm Nita Marie.
I'm Holly.
And this first episode is going to be a little bit about us because, of course, you don't know much about us. So, we wanted to talk a little bit about us and our journey as an online model. And then, one of our next episodes, we're going to dive deeper into one of our model friends and how she got started with OF. So, Holly, I know that I've been doing online modeling a little bit longer than you. And
Mhm.
what inspired you to start OF?
So I actually grew up wanting to do something like this. Like I know this platform didn't exist, and back when we were growing up, there was just like magazines, and I think as we got into our 20s, there were some other platforms that maybe I wasn't as comfortable with at the time. So I'm like, no, I'm not like, I just didn't know where my place was, but I knew that I wanted to be in the industry and that I wanted this freedom, but I just didn't know where I fit in with that. And so it really wasn't until I was recruiting nurses. I was working for a dialysis company. I was recruiting nurses, and I was on maternity leave, and a woman popped up, Miss Poindexter. Everyone knows who she is. She pops up on the news. I'm sitting there literally eating like bonbons on the couch, right? Like the
Yeah.
stereotypical, like
Uh-huh.
sad stay-at-home mom, fretting going back to work. And she pops up and they mentioned OF. And I immediately, because they mentioned her income, I was like, let
Okay.
me do my research.
Yes.
And so I did, and I understood that this is a business, and that it's not just a platform where you log on and you make money, but that it's a business, and that I needed to create a business plan, that I needed social media, which I didn't have. I had never been on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and nothing. Not
Yeah.
so I knew that I had to learn social media, and that was all part of the plan. And so I put together the plan, I implemented it, and within about 3 months of putting together this plan and starting, I quit my job, and
Wow.
which is a great job. I was doing really well, but I knew I didn't enjoy it, and that I had this amazing opportunity. So I went for it. I jumped in headfirst in the pool with no water, and glad I did.
And here you are.
Here I am. Yeah.
Yay. So exciting. Well, my journey is a little bit different. I can't believe, depending on when you're watching this, of course,
Oh.
it's 2025 right now. So,
Yeah.
depending on when you're watching this, I have been an online model for over 8 years.
Have
And
you really? Has it been that
yeah,
long? I've
yeah.
been
Can you
three
believe
and a
that?
half. Three, no, this summer will be 4, but
Okay.
8.
8. Yeah, because I started on a different platform.
Okay.
I actually created my own website. So, yeah. And this is before anyone knew about OF or anything like
Yeah.
that. I created my own website. And I was like a single mom. So I got a
Mhm.
divorce, was a single mom, and really just started modeling again to build my confidence up. And I wanted to be in front of the camera again to make myself feel better and to feel better about myself. Well, that I just reiterated the same thing, but yes.
I know what you mean.
Increase my
Yeah, build your
confidence.
confidence back.
I really wanted to rebuild my confidence after being in a marriage that really lost confidence because we weren't having sex and we weren't being intimate. And so I thought, is there something wrong with me? Because I mean, usually you think that when your partner is not attracted to you. And
Right.
as far as I know, he wasn't having an affair, but I actually think that he was looking at other women online, which is so funny and ironic since, this is kind of what I do now. But I think that that caused us to drift apart sexually. So I really had to rebuild my confidence and had to feel good about my body, especially after having twins. I actually gained after twins, I gained like 65 pounds. I used to be 110 pounds, which is really thin, but I personally didn't like being that thin. I like being thicker, so I love my thicker curves now, but it still helped. I had to readjust to my brain for that.
Yes.
So I scheduled a boudoir photo shoot, and after that photo shoot, I loved the way the photos came out. I loved the way I looked, and I remember modeling in college. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and try this again. So as I started to model, I got lots of followers, of course, on Facebook because they're all interested in my boudoir modeling. And then I realized I really needed to start making money because I can't just make a living off people on Facebook. So that's when I started. I mean, you can. I mean, people can send you money through Cash App and all that, but it's
It's
just
touch
different.
and go though. You need
Yeah.
like steady.
Yeah, it's like I
Yeah.
can't live on $100 here and $100 there.
Right.
So, I decided to create my own website. So it was called Seraphs and Serpents, stands for angels and demons, because at the point I was really struggling a little bit with my moral ethics and whether or not I wanted to do this because of my spiritual background and being Christian and feeling like I really wasn't sure if what I was doing was going to be ethical. So that's why I created this website called Seraphs and Serpents, Angels and Demons, because I felt like I was kind of playing a little bit in like the the devil's playground. So anyway, the website did great and I ended up replacing my income with just the website. But
Wow.
yeah, so actually did really good surprisingly because guys would pay for things on my website and you would think that maybe they wouldn't because it could be a scam, right? But I luckily had guys that would buy videos, they bought content, and it was going great for like a year. But it was then shut down because the credit card processing system I was using actually didn't allow the kind of content I was putting on my site. So, so they ended up deleting that processing, credit card processing app for me. And so I had to figure something else out. And this is when OF was literally just getting started. So it was at like
Okay.
very, very beginning. And I looked into it and I thought, you know what? I guess I'll do it. They do take 20%, but I guess I'll go ahead and try it. And I was able to make good money right away. But then it wasn't until the COVID boom that I ended up starting to make, the big money of like
Yeah.
100,000 a month or whatnot, which is was great and fabulous. But what I love about my journey is that it's always been about building my confidence and self esteem. It never really was about money, but the money came because I was doing it that way. And then later, it did become about the money because I needed to support my family.
Yeah.
And I was a single mom. And so it did become about the money, but it really wasn't the reason I started. I mean, I started just because I wanted to build my self esteem and self confidence.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I don't know. Maybe I was screw loose. I always was like,
The money.
well, I mean, yeah, well, yes, I've always been a money girl, but
Yeah.
I grew up an only child. I'm like, we need to keep this up past leaving this house.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I just I've never had an issue. I mean, aside from if it weren't for like, the oohs and ahs of, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's wearing that or not wearing that. Like, I don't think twice about, if like, let's say I'm at the pool and I'm in a thong bikini and maybe my ass is out. It doesn't bother me. I'm not shy. I've
Yeah.
never been uncomfortable. And I always thought, because I grew up watching Jenny McCarthy and Carmen Electra. I don't know if you did, but I
Yeah.
saw them and I thought they are so smart.
Yeah.
They have pretty privilege and they're using it and
Yeah.
they're monetizing it, and that is what I want to do. So while in high school girls were like, I want to go to medical school, or I want to go be a nurse, I'm like, I want to do this. No, I
Yeah.
want to do this. So I
You
that was
always knew you
my
wanted to do
mind from like a
something
very
similar.
young age. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, no, girls, this is what we need to do.
That's so
I'm
funny.
like, yeah, that's my path for sure.
Yeah.
Um, you know, because we live a fun, amazing life. We're traveling all over while people
Yeah.
are sitting, reporting to prison for the day from, 9 to 5, practically, right?
right?
Being told when they can have lunch, we can literally go. We can go to another country, we can go to another state, we can go to the beach, we can go to the spa, we can take a nap. Like, we have this freedom and
Yeah.
this privilege, and it's a lot of fun. I do have a question for you, though. So you said, you called it demons and angels, right?
Yeah.
So, how did you reconcile that? Because you said I needed to think about if this is something that was moral and ethical. So, how did you then, like, what was it for you to where you decided there is nothing wrong with this? This is really silly, and I'm just going to move forward and live my life as I want because there's nothing wrong with this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I still have days, obviously, that I'm questioning it, but
Do
I
you
also
really?
feel, huh?
Do you really?
Yeah.
Why? Okay, tell me more.
Okay, well, let me first start with the first question you had. So,
Okay.
I actually did decide to have a little powwow with God. I was like, okay, this is really what I should be doing.
Yeah.
And the message that I got was that he wanted me to empower Christian women with
Mhm.
their sexuality
Okay.
and to help them feel that it's not wrong or bad or whatever. Particularly me, because, in a relationship where, we didn't have sex for like years, I mean, he wasn't even Christian. So this was other things happening in that situation. Um,
Yeah.
but it's like I really just cut myself off for my sexuality. So for me, it was like I needed to rediscover that for me
Yeah.
first, but then also to inspire other women that it's not
Mhm.
bad, it's not wrong. This is a gift that we have, and we just like need to learn how to use it, right?
Yeah.
So that was really all I needed was like the okay for that. And
Okay.
it was really, I feel, got inspired that I started when I did before COVID because I was able to monetize on all the stuff that happened during COVID. And then it's just been kind of a whirlwind since then.
Yeah.
Um, but, even now, I feel for myself that God gave me this opportunity to financially have these ways to help other people. So
Mhm.
that's the other thing is that I think that there are some people, even when you're talking about pretty privilege,
Yeah.
even when they're not in a job that they're getting paid for being pretty, um, they are oftentimes sexualized, right?
Mhm.
So if someone, let's say, is a nurse, like how many times you watch a movie and you see this really hot nurse come in, right? And then the guy's like, oh, a hot nurse, like this is such a big deal, right?
Yeah.
So it's like when you're attractive and when you're pretty, you're always battling that stigma regardless of whether or not you're monetizing on it. So I think the difference is that you and I just decided to monetize it
Yeah.
when we would still have the same attention in any other job. We would just get
Yeah.
paid less, right? So
Yeah.
if I was a nurse, I would get the same attention because I would have patients that were oogling over my boobs. Oh, especially if I showed a little bit of cleavage, right? It's like I'd have patients that be like, "Oh, it's Nurse Nita today,"
You're right.
I mean, I would have those patients, but they're not paying me any money. Like I'm
Right.
still getting that, but I'm not making any money from it. So I think
Right.
that the reality is that when you are attractive or you have big boobs or even if you have a big butt, you're
Yeah.
going to get attention. And so
Right.
it's not something that I want to shame a guy for. Like I don't want to tell a guy, listen, don't look at my boobs because even if I wore a tank top, they're still going to look at my boobs. Like,
Yes,
have
yes.
to
And he's
literally,
and actually it's just gonna add to the excitement because what's
yeah,
going on under that
yeah.
under
Like,
that turtleneck, Nita? Yeah.
right. It just adds an excitement. Like, when I go out as a mom, I'm not wearing this. I am wearing a t shirt, whatever, jeans, but you still can see that I have big boobs, right? So it's
Right.
like, for me, I think that every woman that has a particular body part that stands out, whether or not it's boobs or your butt or your face, you're going to get a lot of attention for that. And you can choose to monetize it if
Yeah.
you want to. I know there's some women that have that and they choose not to. And I saw the rudest thing online, actually.
Okay.
And I do want to talk about this because it really pissed me off. And I think she blocked
Okay.
me. I think she blocked me because of my comment. But
Okay.
she's a very attractive person, and
Mhm.
she's on Instagram, and she's like a comedian. So she does lots of things online that are funny, and she gets really satirical, and she tends to like to rile people up, especially,
Mhm.
about politics.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she said something and it really irritated me. She goes, "Here's to all the women that didn't sell their booty hole online for money just because they have a booty hole."
Okay.
She's like, oh, she said something like, okay, here's to all the women. Yeah. Here's to all the women that didn't sell their booty hole online just to make money, something like
Mhm.
that. And I
Yeah.
replied to her and I said, every day I am thankful for my OF money. And it completely changed my life. Like, it
Right.
completely changed my life, my family's life. And it doesn't make you look better to degrade other women. Like right now, as women,
That makes her look horrible.
yeah,
Like,
it makes her look
yeah.
horrible. But
She
there
was,
were
yeah.
all these other comments of women saying, "Amen, sister." Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's because I think there's this undercurrent from other women
Yeah.
that are kind of pissed off that we're making so much money
Oh, yeah.
on our looks. I get
Yes.
it because
100%.
I would understand if I was slaving away as a teacher, or if I was slaving away at another job that I had worked hours to get degrees for.
Yeah.
I was sacrificing my sleep, I was sacrificing my health, I was sacrificing time with my family, and I was stressed out. I would also be pissed that there are girls that are making all this money on their looks if I also internally thought I could do it, right? So these are women that either they kind of internally wish they would do it too, like that they could
Right.
do it, right?
Absolutely. But they don't have the guts. They don't have the
They,
self-confidence. And
they
this could
don't
be
have
an
the gut,
attractive woman.
right?
You can be an
Or
attractive woman and not have the guts, not have the self-confidence, or be so afraid of what others are going to
everybody
think.
else's
And
opinion,
it's probably a
exactly.
combination of all of those things.
Yes. Or it's someone that doesn't have the looks and they're just feel like they're jealous.
Right.
But I
Yeah.
think a lot of times it's these women that actually secretly wish they could do it for some
Right.
reason.
A
Because
100%.
if everybody could make the amount of money we're making and be able to work from home and enjoy their life, they would do it. They
Yeah.
would.
Yeah.
Because
You want to work for 2 hours a day and enjoy the rest of the day and,
yeah,
make 10 times the money that you're making and actually see your family. Anyone that doesn't raise their hand, come on.
that's the thing is that you want to have a life of balance. And that's what I always try to achieve with
Yeah.
my other businesses is a life of balance. And the truth is that nothing ever paid enough money for me to do that besides
Yeah.
being an online model.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is that people are going to say, well, I want to do something in my life that matters or that can make a difference and all that. And I feel the same way too. Like, that's why I started my animal sanctuary. That's
Right.
why I volunteer. That's why I'm always involved in my kids' life and their school. Like, I want to make a difference too. But when
Right.
but sometimes you're grinding away just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
If I didn't have OF, I wouldn't have the time to make a difference, because
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Because my next question, to kind of like interview you and bring you to another topic is like, or not necessarily another topic, but just to kind of expand is like, one to bring up the point that I think people see us online on Instagram, and they're looking at our life through a straw, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is your life. And it's not. It's, takes me an hour a day to make those reels. Then guess what? I got a massage today. I'm going to dinner soon. Like, I'm outside, like, living my life, traveling, doing a lot of different
Yeah.
things. Just came back from South Padre, like Hawaii, like living. But they think, like, oh, this is all she does. And it's always like sexy time online. And, who else are you? Is that all you do, is just take pictures of yourself? And like, is that all you're good for?
Yeah.
And that's the laughable thing. They think that our persona online, that's who we are.
Yeah.
We're people. You're Nita, I'm
Yeah.
Holly, and we have lives outside of this. We're real people with, feelings and desires and other things that we want to pursue. Like you said, you have your animal sanctuary that you worked really hard to build and make a difference. And these people that are working the 9 to 5, or maybe they're just, home with kids, whatever, living the monotonous life, they, like you said, to your point, they're so busy just trying to make it and keep their head above water financially,
Yeah.
and with their schedule. And they would never have the time to create an animal sanctuary and write
Yeah.
a book that you just wrote, and write a book that I just wrote.
Yeah. Exactly. Tell us about your book.
Oh, yeah, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm in the publishing phase right now. So, I was married, and I was married to an alcoholic. And like you, Nita, I grew up very did you grow up sheltered? I was very sheltered.
I
Very
wasn't as sheltered as you,
okay.
but
You were
I understand you were way more sheltered than I was.
Yeah, I was very, very sheltered,
Yeah.
and naive. And so, and I hadn't been around anyone that drank. Like, no one in my community drank. I really
Yeah.
didn't know what I was looking for. So, I was married to a very high functioning, I guess, closet alcoholic. That, after a number of years, uh, sped out of control. And long story short, he actually passed away from alcoholism. And so I wanted to write a book for those that are either living with an addict or have an addict that's close to them, and they don't know how to help. They don't know, like, what do I do with this individual that I'm living with, that doesn't want to seek help, or doesn't know how to seek help, or isn't ready to admit that he needs help? Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
How do I get this person in treatment? How do I keep them in treatment? And how can I make the difference in the situation? It's everything that I wish I would have known at the time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I wrote
that's
that book.
powerful. Yeah, good for you for
Yeah.
writing a book. That's awesome. I feel
Yeah.
like you
So
really got healing too. I hope you had some, like, closure on some things too from
yeah,
writing.
I think it was, I had to relive a lot of I didn't leave out any details. I mean, I went all in with all the gory details, like the
Yeah.
good times, the bad times, the scary times, everything. Um, I'd say it's about 30% memoir,
Yeah.
70% self-help. But I mean, it's a 15 chapter book, so my story's definitely in there.
Yeah.
Um, and it'll be on the shelves in August, so I'm excited.
Yay, that's so
Yeah,
awesome.
that's what I'm working on.
Hey,
So yeah,
that's
and there's
making a
there's a lot
difference.
more
That's
to
making
us,
an impact,
obviously. And
right?
what?
Yeah. That's making an impact, is your book will make a positive
Oh, yeah,
impact on people's lives.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The statistics are that something that 46% of Americans are living with this.
Yeah.
So
A lot.
yeah, it's a lot.
Hmm. And it's hard to find that balance between being codependent and also being helpful. So where's that
Uh,
line of, like, you taking care of yourself, but yet also wanting to help the addict? Because
oh yeah,
I do feel like we can be intercessors for people
mhm,
that have addiction, but they
yeah.
still have to be the one that hits the rock bottom to decide. Um, you know, because we can't change it for them. They have to really want to change it.
Yes, yes.
You agree with that? Sounds like you don't agree with that.
Ultimately, it's
Yeah,
I mean, I talk a lot about that in the book, but I mean, someone that's mentally ill, they are unaware that they are mentally ill. They're not aware that, they think that they're well. Like
yeah,
everything's, what do you mean? Like, what's the problem? I'm
yeah,
functioning, everything's great. Maybe not
yeah,
great, but
yeah,
certainly not as bad as you paint it. And so unfortunately, rock bottom is either jail or death for a lot
yeah,
of people. So,
yeah,
um, yeah, but there still is that balance of like, okay, I can't completely sacrifice myself and my kids, but I do want to help this person. And so that is what I talk about. Like, how do you navigate that? What do you do?
yeah,
What are the
yeah.
resources, the options?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. I love it. And what's the title
Yeah.
of the book?
Um,
Are you coming up with the title still?
no, I have it. I just want to say
Okay. Oh, you can't say
it.
it. It's a surprise. Okay, that's fine. No worries. Well, I'm sure you will say it when it's
I
released.
will. Yes. Yes. A couple
Yeah.
episodes in, because as I get closer to the publishing, like, and the
Yeah.
book actually being out, I'll say the
Okay.
title of the book. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm
Okay.
excited.
Yeah.
But yes, you see, I would have never had the time to write a book.
Yeah.
You and I didn't, hire a ghostwriter and say, here's
Right.
my story, come up with it. We were writing,
Yeah. It takes a
and
lot of time.
yeah, and did you know 1% of those that consider writing a book actually do? 1%.
Really, I didn't know
That's it.
that. That's
1%.
interesting.
A lot of people think about writing a book, but it's it's no joke. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a lot of prep and dedication and skill
Yeah.
and time to write a book. So
It is. It
I'm
is.
proud of both of
And
us for doing it.
yay, woohoo.
Yeah.
Well,
I
I
mean, and a lot of
remember.
people, some people spend years, like
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like 3 years in and they're like, I'm still writing my book.
Well, and the key to that is getting a good publisher and getting someone that can help you. And I did hire a
Yeah.
book coach that helped me because that
Yeah.
was super helpful. But I love now that I have other women that are like, oh, I want to write a book too. So I can pass on, who helped me because
Yeah.
book is really healing for your story, whatever that is that you wrote. Like, even
Yeah.
if I didn't sell any copies of my book, I'm just so happy I wrote it down. Like, I have a memoir of that, and someone even suggested that I have my kids read it, and I thought, well, that's a great idea because I'm not going to sit here and tell my kids my whole story, right? But I can
Right. You're
give
not going
them
to be
my
like,
book.
sit down, it's story time.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'll let you read about it because it's going to come from a different perspective than me telling you.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was a really good piece of advice to have my kids read it.
Yeah.
So yeah, so congratulations on that. That's awesome. I'm excited
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
So
I'm really excited.
yeah. So my book is called The Sacred Butterfly,
Okay.
and it is released and people can look for it on Amazon. And what I love about my story is it's really helping the everyday woman come to their own relationship with their body and their sexuality, and then also be aware if they had any sexual trauma or if they have daddy issues. That tends to be a really big thing for women that are not completely healed sexually, is they have
Okay.
daddy issues. And so I had daddy issues.
You did. Okay.
If you're watching this, you might have mommy issues, but I had daddy issues. So
Men
it was,
do.
yeah. So it was definitely important for me to heal that in my own psyche, and
Yeah.
writing it out helped. But in my book has worksheets. Just one second.
Yeah.
So it has worksheets that women can go through and work on certain things after each chapter. I'm not sure if your book has that, but the worksheets I find are super helpful. I know yours
That's a
isn't done
great
yet.
idea for
So
bonus
yeah,
material. Yeah.
yeah, to have a worksheet. So whatever the topic is of that chapter, women can afterwards go through and write out their own story, their own version that they can process.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so here we are. We're OF models, we're moms, we're authors.
Yeah.
We are activists in the community. So what has been some of the challenges for you being a mom and an OF model?
The only challenge for me is outside opinions. It- only in the almost 4 years that I've done this, it's only come up a couple of times. The first time that it came up, it was my daughter was in middle school, and I think you remember this. I was confronted by the bishop of the church.
Yeah, that was only like a couple years ago.
Yeah, yeah,
Years ago.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah, right when I was about to move. So we
yeah.
were moving, it was fine, but I can't remember. I think I was on a podcast, or I mean, I was maybe, oh, you know what it was? I was actually on a television show.
Oh,
I
really?
was I was on a talk show. Yeah,
Oh,
I was on
I
a
didn't know
talk
that.
show.
What
Um,
talk show was it?
I can't remember the name of it. I'll get back to you on
Yeah.
what that was, because
You're
I
on a
can't
media.
remember right
Yeah,
now. But it's on YouTube. They
yeah.
put the copy of it on YouTube. So if you look
Cool.
me up on
Yeah,
YouTube, I'm sure it'll come
yeah.
up,
That's awesome. Yeah,
as other things will. But
yeah,
yes, so it's on this talk show, and it's like a morning show,
yeah.
and someone saw the show and recognized me and sent my bishop a copy, like the link
Yeah. Yeah.
to the recording. And this is also right when I was going viral, because remember, I like, and as we both were like in the New York Post, and I
Yeah.
wrote an article for the Huff Post, and I'm in Newsweek, and I'm on cover of Feminist, and like we're kind of like all over the media, right? And I I mean, I knew going into this, okay, someone may find out, and I just need to be okay with that, and this is
Yeah.
all worth it. But I get a text the next morning after a viral article hits, and this is on YouTube, and it's at 5:30 a.m. And he's like, "Can you come to the church this evening? I would like to talk to you." I have
Yeah.
never in my life been summoned to the church by the bishop, so like
You're like,
that's not normal. So
okay.
I'm like, "Oh, he knows."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Actually, I'm really busy. Can we just talk about this?" And he's like, "It's really important." I avoided him like the plague for a couple of days. And then I don't know why I did this. Probably because I'm just, when you're raised in the church, you don't question, is this normal for him to be coming over to my house to discuss my business?
Yeah.
Um, you're just kind of like groomed that that's normal, right?
Yeah.
That being questioned is normal, and we have to ask permission to go into the temple every year. So like we're used to these meetings, not in our
Yeah.
home, but we're used to answering like they're a parent, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like I guess my inner child came out in that moment,
Yeah.
and I was like, okay, come over. So he comes over and he questions me, and long story short, he gives me an ultimatum, and as to you can continue this and keep your membership with the church, or you can no, so you can continue this and not keep your membership,
Right. 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 Right.
or you can go back to what you were doing for your career, which is a good one, or and you can maintain your status and membership with the church. And I just remember like smiling and nodding like I do with my parents still,
Uh-huh.
like like pretending like, yeah, I got you, everything, I agree with everything you're saying. But internally I was like, yeah, inside I was just like, no, get
So
out of my house.
you were scared to tell him the truth right then.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just didn't want to. Yes,
You
yeah.
don't confront
I
it.
think I was, as I was sitting there, there's a lot of thoughts running through my mind. There's yeah, like I'm afraid of that confrontation because we've never had this confrontation.
Yeah.
Um I am also thinking, this is total BS. Like, why am I even talking to you right now? Like there's like this internal struggle, and I
Huh?
was just like, get out of my house. I just couldn't wait for him to get out of my house. And then I thought about it, and I thought, I don't owe him an explanation. This is
Yeah.
nuts. Like, there are a bigger fish to fry, I'm sure, and you need to go focus on something else. And this
Yeah.
is not your problem. And so I went about my business, and months went by, and he wanted to have a follow-up meeting with me to find out if I'm sure they were stalking my Instagram the whole
Right.
time
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
my website. It's like, okay, yes, keep looking at my Instagram. It helps my views, by the way,
Yeah.
which it gets me more subscribers. But
Right.
he kept trying to track me down because he wanted an update. How are things going?
Yeah.
What are you doing? And I was getting ready to move. It was like 6 months later. I'm getting ready to move. And the way that things work in the church is if you move to another state and you attend another LDS church, they're all tied.
Yeah.
So
We
if
all
I
know.
if I go down the street and I say I'm Holly and I'm new in the area and I would like to start attending your church here, the first thing they're going to say is, "Great! I'm so excited you moved here. What's your member ID number?" And there's a file on me. So I
Yeah.
think that he didn't want this to be someone else's problem,
Yeah.
like, because I'm such a problem. And I know. And so they held a meeting about me, and which I was invited to, but I was like, I am above attending a meeting to beg to stay a member of your church."
Yeah.
And so I'm blowing that off. And so I moved, and I did receive the official letter that I still have that I am excommunicated. They didn't use the term excommunication, but they said everything but that word, that specific word. That yeah,
Yeah.
I am no longer a member. So
That's
that's
hard
fine.
though.
And that affects my kids because that's what we did every Sunday, and every Wednesday is activity night. And
Yeah.
so and they had friends, and so
Yeah.
that does make a big impact
Yeah. That's
because there's
sad.
this big hole.
Yeah.
And you probably haven't been to an LDS church, but it is very different than just going down the street to the Baptist church.
Yeah.
It's very
Like
different.
it's hard for you to find another church that you feel
It's
comfortable going to.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, it's very different. The
Yeah.
the whole philosophy is different. The music is different. The
Yeah.
activities are different. The structure is different. Everything about it is different. And so we still haven't found
Hmm.
um, where we belong
Yeah.
in terms of that. And I I just sort of put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
I am going to revisit that whole thing. Um, I may go back to them and try to restore my membership.
Yeah.
I did challenge them in the media. I totally blasted them in the
Yeah.
media.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I didn't
and
see you had an article about it.
yeah, yeah, I had multiple articles about it. I may go back and fight with them
Yeah.
and go back to the media and really go after them. I just haven't decided if that's what I want to do. So
Well,
I
and
just
it's
needed some space from it to
yeah, you need some
decide.
space.
But I
Yeah.
might do that.
Yeah. The truth of the matter is whatever their opinion of what you did was wrong,
Mhm.
there are people doing those things every day in the Mormon church. Even worse, there's people that are
Oh
sexually
yeah.
assaulting teenagers in the Mormon church. There are people that are, doing lots of other things that we don't know about
Right.
that, probably I wouldn't want to even talk about on this podcast.
Right,
And
exactly.
there's probably plenty of them that are watching, women online. So it's like
They
for you
do.
to be the one who's excommunicated is completely wrong
Yeah.
because everybody else has their own demons in their closet, which is
Right.
why I had the website Demons and Angels because
Exactly.
everybody has a demon. I mean, there's literally nobody on earth that can say, I am a perfect human and I have
Right.
never done anything wrong. And so when we're now just focusing on one aspect of a person, like what you do for a living is just one aspect of who you are. But as far as the rest of who you are,
Yeah.
I mean, you probably are a much more stellar human than a lot of other people going to that church, but they don't have a spotlight on their inside life. Like they're not
Right.
having a video camera in their house to see what they're actually doing. The only difference is that we're
Yeah.
putting our life on a video camera. People don't
Yep.
think I have sex every day or every other day or every 3 days. Most people have sex, right? The
Yep.
only
Yeah. I would hope
difference
so.
is we're putting it on camera. That's the
Yeah.
only difference.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that want to see it, so they can pay.
Exactly. That's the difference. They're not on the Truman Show, but they want to be. They want to be on the Truman Show.
Yeah.
They wish they could be.
So, but that really does genuinely make me very sad for you. Because I think that having a good community that's,
Yeah.
a spiritual community is so important for yourself, for your kids, for you to feel safe,
Yeah.
and now you don't feel safe, and that's very sad.
Yeah.
And so I'll be praying that you can get that resolved.
Well, and you mentioned everyone has a demon. The ones that are judging, they're so judgmental.
Yeah,
Oh my God, you do what? Right? Like, that is your demon.
that is your
The
demon
fact that
judgment.
you're such a
Yes,
closed minded individual,
absolutely.
that you're so, which really, it says everything about you and nothing about me.
Hmm.
That is your demon, because
Absolutely.
the core of that is your insecurity and need for control.
Yep.
So that is your demon. We just discovered it.
Well, and we all know that Jesus says, "Thou shalt not judge," and
Right.
love your neighbor as you would love me. So, how can we approach this with love?
Yeah.
And that's where I go back to you asked, do I still question things? And I'm like, yeah, I do still question things for myself ethically,
Mhm.
because I know I am tempting men. Like, I do know that. But these are men that probably would be tempted anyway, right? So, like,
Absolutely.
they would be
Yes.
tempted anyway. They would
Yes.
be another girl online. If it wasn't me, it would be somebody else. Because
100%.
most of the people that are joining this platform, um, have a type, right? So when I have someone else on my page that is
Mhm.
blonde, has big boobs,
Yeah.
30 and over 40, guess what? All my fans like her. So
Yes.
they do like me, but more than that, they like the type, right?
Yeah.
So if it
Yeah.
wasn't me monetizing from these guys, it would be another blonde mom over 40 with big
Right.
boobs, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. A
So,
100%.
so it's absolutely not going to go away,
No.
um, just because I stopped doing it, and it's not going to go away even if all of the women stop doing it,
No.
because it's something that is an innate in men to look at other women, to look at women in general, not other
Yeah.
women, just look at women. I mean,
Yeah.
it is part of their DNA. It's part of their
Right.
testosterone. So now what I would prefer is I would prefer a man, even if he wants to look at someone online, to look at his wife more. Like, would I prefer that? Yes, because that is the most positive thing you could do if you're in a relationship that both of you love each other, is to be looking at your wife more than what you're looking at me. That's just my personal opinion.
Sure. Like, it shouldn't be like a 70-30%. Like,
Yeah, like, in my personal opinion, I think part of what really damaged my previous marriage is he was looking at all these other women online, and he disassociated from our relationship because that meant he had to deal with his emotions. Because our relationship was emotional, right? Where you're dealing with a woman online and that's just physical, and it's just the sexual part, where our relationship was emotional and he had a lot of emotions that he had not resolved. So it's much easier for him to look at a woman online than it was for him to look at me, although I consider myself an attractive person, right? So
yeah.
that's the only thing that I think can be negative when it affects intimacy, because guys cut themselves off from their emotions because they don't want to deal with whatever's happening in their marriage.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's the extreme case. I think there are plenty of men, though, that can, you know, not make this an addiction to where they're online all day long, looking at Instagram models and, OF girls. Like, I have several types. that I'm thinking of right now on my page. But like, yeah, if someone has a wife at home, and and they're just looking and they're having fun, like, I think there are some great guys. I've had some guys come on my page and they're like, like, she's, not home a lot. She works a lot. I'm lonely. I want someone to talk to. I
Yeah.
like talking to you. And I've had them tell me when she's home, like, hey, she's home this weekend. I'm not going to be on much. I'm going to
Yeah.
pay attention to her. Or, there's a lot of single guys, or there are guys that, yeah, that I can tell, like with your scenario, I have had those guys, but like you said, if it's not us, it's going to be someone else. And I've actually had a couple of women come onto my site and ask, like, has so and so been on this page, and be so upset.
Really?
And of course, I wouldn't tell you if he had just messaged me.
Yeah.
That's not, I'm not getting in the middle of that. That's not for me to
Yeah.
say. But I did say to this person, I said, just glad that it's OF and that you're not texting my number asking if he was at my house. Like, this is, it's just OF. Like, it's, he's
And
not going to meet me. It's
let's
no
actually
different
talk about
than,
that for a minute. Let's talk about that for a minute
okay.
because, I think some people would consider looking at an OF model online as cheating, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's a completely different thing. So I actually think something like OF is preventing cheating because they can have a little bit of a virtual interaction and not
Yeah.
actually do the real thing because that person already has a little bit of a wandering eye, right? And if they're wandering online, I would
That's
much
much
rather, if
safer.
I am the partner on the other side, I personally would much rather it be that than in person.
Oh,
Now, would
yeah.
I don't personally, I wouldn't want it either way. I would want my partner to tell me straight up, like, listen, I'm subscribed to so and so's page. I think half of the issue is that women are also so like protective over that. Like, if you have a guy that has a wandering eye, you need to know that up front. Like, you need to know that that's the kind of person he is, because then there's things you can do to mitigate it so he's not doing it behind your back, so that you are aware of the
Yeah.
people that he's talking to, because then you can be a little bit more included in it. I think the number one thing that ends up hurting people is the lies and the deception. That
Yeah.
hurts people more than knowing, like, oh, he's looking at this girl right now online, you know?
Right. Right. Like, I'm just thinking, like, for myself, I mean, not everyone's as cool as me, I guess, but like, if I had a husband and he came to me and even just didn't come to me, I guess, like, if I saw, an OF charge on a car, on a bill,
Yeah,
or however I found out, I think I would be like, I think I would go to him and I think I would be like, well, I would first kind of dig to find out, okay, what is this? What does this entail? And then I would be like, hey, just have open dialogue about it. Hey, I actually don't mind that you're looking at this. I would much rather it be this than in person. But let's talk about, like, what are our boundaries? Like, what's your boundary for me? What's my boundary for you? And it's just an opportunity to have a conversation, because I think if he feels like you're not going to attack him or judge him for, you know, looking at a naked body online, I think he's less likely to turn this into something more, or, to, out of spite,
yeah,
continue, right? Like, he's going to get his fix and he's going to move on with his day. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
fine. It's
And
fine. Yeah, I think like, it's estimated. I don't remember where I saw this, and I don't know the exact percentage, but I think it's something like 96% of men are looking at some sort of, like,
yeah,
spicy images online, and I think the other 4% just lie about it. Like, I mean, they're all looking. It's just looking.
yeah.
We're just looking. Come on.
Looking, well, it's like candy, right? So, how many people don't have any sugar in their life at all? That's the kind of thing, right? It's like
Yeah.
looking at women for guys is like drinking, caffeine. It's like most people have a little bit of caffeine, most people have a little bit of sugar, right? But it's like, to what's the extent? And I love the fact that you brought up boundaries, because one of the greatest things about our job is that I've had to really discover what are my boundaries. Where
Yeah,
before, when I didn't have this job, I just assumed it was just monogamous, like, right, I'm monogamous, you're monogamous, I'm only into men, you're only into women, and it's just us, right? But then, like, I got into this job and I thought, oh, well, there's lots of different things out there. Like, well, I
yeah,
could be into women, I could be into men and women. I could want an open relationship. I could want a polyamorous relationship. I could want to be a swinger. I could, want to do this. I could want to do that. And
there's
I
choices.
had to figure myself out, because it was like, for me, it was like a kid in the candy store that I had never had the freedom to figure it out, because I just thought, oh, I'm just monogamous, right? But a lot of people that are in those monogamous relationships, especially if you're in a religious household, you
Yeah,
just assume this is what you're supposed to do. But the
yeah,
reality is that most people actually are wired a little differently when it comes to sexuality. There are plenty of heterosexual monogamous couples. Like, I am, I now consider myself a heterosexual monogamous person. However, there are a lot of people that are not on that spectrum. They lean towards more bisexual, they lean more towards, you know, open marriage. There actually is a spectrum, and they just have never figured themselves out because they've never allowed themselves to figure it out. Would you agree with that?
yeah, probably.
I mean, did you get a chance to explore some of your sexuality being in this business?
Yeah. I mean, I never questioned that. I mean, for me, it was like I'm just very like it's for the business.
Yeah. So for
Yeah,
you, it's for the business. For me, I
it's for
think
business. Yeah.
I also needed to really feel like I swung that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I mean, of course, I wouldn't, I didn't question myself, but of course, like the topic came up, on all the different topics because we have friends that
Yeah.
live a lot of different lifestyles, and we have personally like seen and witnessed, like you said, all the candy, all the
Yeah.
flavors,
Yeah.
right? Like
Uh-huh.
we've watched all the flavors, and so it was there to like consider, think about, and so um and I didn't try all the candy, but I've tried some candy, and for me it was about the business.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, this has been so interesting, and I feel like we have so many more topics to talk
Yeah,
about. But we just really skimmed the surface on kind of our personal lifestyles, why we
yeah,
decided to become an online model, how our religious beliefs come into effect,
yeah,
and also just how it affects us being a mom. And so I'm excited to talk about some more of these topics in our next episode. So hopefully, if you've liked this episode, you've decided to like and subscribe so that you don't miss our next episode. And we're going to have a couple more of just Holly and I, and then we're going to start bringing in some of our fun friends that also have their own perspectives on how to be a mom and an OF online model. So thank you guys for watching and listening, and we'll be back next time.